And welcome back. I'm Bill English, the publisher here at Bible and Business. You might notice that I'm in a new studio. Some of the hiatus that I've taken in the last couple of weeks of not being able to record videos is precisely because we had to change locations as to where I was recording the videos in the first place. So very happy to be here with you again, and I'm so glad that you've joined me. I'm continuing in my study on the leadership lessons from the life of Moses. And today I'm in Exodus 3, verses 13 through 16. And so what I'd like to do is just read for you and for myself as well, for both of our edifications, the scriptures, and then run through some slides and make some notes. We have one leadership lesson to gain from this at the end of this video. So here's Exodus 3, 13 through 16a. Then Moses said to God, "If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' what shall I say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, "Say this to the people of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" God also said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel, 'The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations. Go and gather the elders of Israel together." Now, it seems to me that Moses is really asking two core questions. First of all, which God am I talking to? And secondly, what is the character of this God? Now, why would I pose it this way? Because we can't read back onto Moses, our 21st century American evangelical ways of looking at the Old Testament. You got to remember that Moses grew up in the palace of Egypt, which was polytheistic. And more than likely, he left Egypt believing in more than one God. And so partly what God has to do here at the burning bush at Mount Sinai is to define himself and to help change Moses' theology around who God is and if there are really any other gods before God. Dr. Stewart says it well here. This is 2 slides I'm just going to read to you. This is a quote from his commentary on this part of Exodus. He says, "Moses' protest at this point is appropriate for someone willing to respond favorably to a call of God, particularly in light of the culture he and his fellow Israelites lived in. Theirs was a polytheistic, pantheistic, and syncretistic world in which all people groups and nations, and there are no known exceptions to this, by the way, believed that there were many gods, that all nature partook to some degree of divinity, and that all religions had at least some validity, no matter how many or what sort of gods or goddesses those religions worshipped, and regardless of the contradictions a modern person can immediately see between any two such religions. Moses therefore wondered, really, which God am I speaking to? Since the God of your fathers, which is really the summation of verse 6, might have different meanings to different Israelites. Having lived in the midst of pagan cultures all their lives, all Israelites were at risk for heterodox beliefs and or the distortion of whatever correct beliefs they may theoretically have inherited. Moreover, since the true God was known by various names and titles in the patriarchal era, specificity was desirable. Perhaps most importantly, however, was the assumption that in the culture that to call on a God, that is to pray and worship him, involved calling on his name. So God answers, "I am who I am." There's extensive amounts of reading and work that you can do on this phrase. I think it's better to be translated, "I cause to be what I will cause to be." Because God can only name himself. Remember, naming was a sign of authority in that time. No one can name God. He can only name himself. And because he is eternally existing in the past and the future, then "I am" is his response. It should also be noted that in the Hebrew, the phrase "I am" is very, very close to the Hebrew verb "to be." And so I cause to be what I will cause to be. I am who I am. Now, Sarna writes in his book, the JPS Torah Commentary, Rabbi Sarna writes this: the phrase also indicates that the earliest recorded understanding of the divine name was as a verb derived from the stem HVH, taken as an earlier form of HYH, to be. Either it expresses the quality of absolute being, the eternal, unchanging, dynamic present, or it means he causes to be. Stewart writes this: what the NIV necessarily translates, I am who I am, probably was actually heard by Moses as I cause to be, because I cause to be. So God is really challenging Moses here. There's this I am versus a polytheistic worldview. No other gods were claiming the I am because they weren't real gods. And we really need to appreciate the time factor here that Moses and the Israelites are up against. There have been 400 years of silence. So let's say we're in the year 2019. It would have been as if God had not spoken since 1619. Well, what do you think would have happened with our theology had we had no Bible and no speaking from God over 400 years? We probably would have turned to other gods. So we have 400 years here, and God spoke to Abraham, God spoke to Isaac, and God spoke to Jacob. And that's really great for them, I can see the elders saying. But he certainly isn't talking to us. And what Moses is going to do is come on the scene and say, hey, that God who talked to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob 400 years ago, 300 years ago, maybe even 200 years ago, he talked to me and he sent me to you. And so I think that there's going to be a fair amount of noise regarding Moses' claim when he goes to Egypt initially. I'll even offer some speculation here. I imagine when Moses was growing up in the palace that a few Israelites may have seen him as God's man, but after committing murder and kind of going on the run for over 40 years, seems to me that a lot of them would have been disappointed in him and might have felt abandoned by God again. Now he's going to come back and he's going to say to them, hey, God's talked to me. And you need to understand that that same God who talked to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he talked to me. I'm going to speculate that there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for Moses coming back at that point. But we'll look at that in a future video. But God's response is a very relevant and a very stark message for today. And I think if you're going to take seriously your role as a Christian business owner and as a Christian leader, and you're going to take that seriously, then you're going to have to believe in the God of the Bible. You're going to have to accept his eternalness, both past and future, that he exists and is ever in the present. And this I am existence uniquely defines him apart from all the other gods. And even though this isn't on the slide, I'm going to offer the idea that when God says I am, he is expecting us to believe that and to accept that before he ever calls us to a ministry and before he ever gives us what we need to perform that ministry. This is God defining himself. I am. And God is always going to be I am. As we lead our churches, as we lead our businesses, as we lead in various areas, both in ministry and in business, when we come up and we say, what does God want me to do? The I am is calling you. This is our one leadership lesson for today. What you believe about God and his person will directly impact your view of Christian stewardship and your purpose for owning a business, and I would say your purpose for being a leader in the first place. If you have a low view of God, that he's kind of this cosmic bellhop that's here to help us feel better and to get rid of our pain and to help us succeed, then you're going to take more of a partnership, collaborative relationship with God. And you might be kind of loosey-goosey about some of your morals. But if you're going to view God as the I am, and view him for how he presents himself, as the one who has all truth, as the one who is the embodiment of truth, then when you're searching for help in your leadership and you're searching for help in running your business or running your church, you're going to turn to the one who is the source of all things. I am. What you believe about God and his person will directly impact your view of Christian stewardship. We're going to explore this more in another series called The Foundations of Christian Stewardship, some which I've already got published out at my Bible and Business YouTube channel. But this is going to come back to us again as we look at God continuing to define himself with Moses and with the people of Israel and with Pharaoh. And we're going to look at leadership lessons that we can learn on how to lead effectively when we're under the control of the I am. I'm Bill English. I want to thank you for listening today. I look forward to speaking with you again in another video here at Bible and Business. Make it a great day.